the distress signal. The electromagnetic pulse that tore through the void carried more than just data. It carried desperation. Captain Victor Steele felt the hair on his arms rise as the signal penetrated the shielding of Deep Station Omega, humanity's most advanced listening post positioned at the edge of the solar system. For 37 years, Victor had monitored the cosmos for signs of intelligent life. Today, intelligence had found them first. Dr. Okafor, are you seeing this? Victor's voice carried across the station's command center, where holographic displays painted the walls in shifting blues and greens. The signal pattern was unlike anything in their databases, complex, mathematical, but underlaid with something that transcended species barriers. Pure terror. Dr. Zara Okafor, her dark fingers dancing across quantum keyboards, looked up from her workstation with wide eyes. As Earth's premier xenolinguist, she had spent decades preparing for this moment. But theory felt inadequate as the alien transmission washed over their instruments. The base mathematical structure is consistent with intelligence, Captain. But the emotional resonance. She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. Whatever sent this is in mortal danger. The main display shimmered as Zara's translation algorithms worked to decode the signal. Static gave way to images that made the veteran space officer's blood run cold. A world of crystalline spires and floating gardens burned under bombardment, from ships that seemed carved from living shadow. The attackers moved with ruthless efficiency, harvesting not just resources, but entire populations. My name is Keth Var of the Ashanti Confederation. The transmission began, and Victor watched as a being of ethereal beauty appeared on screen. The alien skin possessed an opalescent quality, shifting between silver and blue, while 4 arms gestured in what was unmistakably a plea for help. To any civilization capable of receiving this message, our worlds are dying. The Ravager horde shows no mercy. They consume everything, leaving only void in their wake. Victor's weathered hands gripped the command chair as scenes of destruction played out before them. The Ashanti were clearly advanced. Their cities floated in harmony with their environment. Their ships moved like living things through space. Yet they were being systematically annihilated by an enemy that treated warfare as harvesting. We offer all our knowledge, all our resources to any who would stand with us. Kethavar's voice continued, harmonics creating an almost musical quality despite the desperation. We are not warriors. Our evolution favored cooperation over conflict. We never developed weapons because we never needed them. Now, our peaceful nature becomes our doom. Zara looked up from her analysis, her expression grim. Captain, the transmission's origin point is approximately 18 light-years away. The Ashanti system, 7 planets, 6 billion inhabitants according to their data burst. And Victor, she hesitated. The signal is 3 days old. By the time we receive updates, it might already be too late. Victor nodded slowly, then activated the quantum relay that would connect them directly to Earth Command. Within minutes, Admiral Marcus Webb's weathered face appeared on the communication screen, his steel-gray eyes taking in the situation with the calculating precision that had made him humanity's top military strategist. Admiral, we have a first contact scenario, Victor reported. And it's not what we expected. Admiral Webb studied the alien transmission for several long minutes, his expression unreadable. Behind him, Victor could see the organized chaos of Earth Command's war room, where humanity's greatest military minds worked around the clock to protect their expanding interstellar territories. 18 light-years, Webb finally said. That puts them just beyond our current operational range. Captain Steele, what's your assessment of the threat level to Earth? Victor exchanged glances with Zara before responding. Unknown, sir. The attackers, this Ravager horde, appear to be technologically superior to both us and the Ashanti. If they're following standard expansion patterns, Earth could be a future target. Or, Zara interjected, this could be our chance to gain a powerful ally. The Ashanti technology appears incredibly advanced in areas where we're still developing. Energy, manipulation, bioengineering, possibly even consciousness transfer. An alliance could advance human civilization by centuries. Webb's expression remained neutral, but Victor caught the slight tightening around his eyes that indicated deep thought. I'm calling an emergency session of the Defense Coalition. We'll need full analysis of the alien technology, tactical assessment of the Ravager threat, and resource allocation estimates for potential intervention. The next 18 hours passed in a blur of activity. Deep Station Omega became the focal point for humanity's most important decision since the first Mars colony ship had launched. Linguistic experts worked alongside military strategists, while xenobiologists attempted to understand the physical characteristics of both alien species from the limited data available. General Rosa Martinez arrived via priority transport, her reputation for tactical brilliance preceding her into the station's conference room. As she studied the displays showing Ravager ship configurations and attack patterns, her expression grew increasingly troubled. They're not just conquering. She observed, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded troops in 3 separate colonial conflicts. They're systematically harvesting. Look at these patterns. They strip resources, collect biological samples, then leave the worlds uninhabitable. This isn't expansion. It's consumption. Dr. Okafor nodded from her position at the analysis station. The Ashanti described them as a collective consciousness, individual units operating under a singular driving intelligence. They've encountered 17 different species over the past 50 years. None survived the initial contact by more than 6 months. Admiral Webb arrived with Commander Dante Cross, captain of Earth's most advanced warship, the Nemesis. Cross was younger than Victor had expected, perhaps 40, with the lean build and alert eyes of someone who had spent years in the hostile environment of deep space. His reputation, however, was legendary. He had commanded successful operations against pirates, rebels, and environmental disasters that would have claimed lesser ships. Commander, Webb began without preamble, I need your honest assessment. Can human technology stand against what we're seeing? Cross studied the tactical displays for several minutes, his expression thoughtful. Their energy weapons are impressive, and their shielding appears superior to ours. But Admiral, they're fighting civilizations that never developed military technology. The Ashanti evolved on a paradise world. They've never faced scarcity, predation, or environmental catastrophe. Victor found himself leaning forward, sensing something important in the younger man's tone. Earth is different, Cross continued. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Ice ages, plagues, predators, natural disasters. We survive by becoming adaptable, aggressive when necessary, and absolutely refusing to give up. These Ravagers have never faced a species that fights back effectively. General Martinez smiled grimly. You're suggesting we have advantages they won't expect. I'm suggesting we're the first species they'll encounter that sees warfare as a survival skill rather than an unfortunate necessity, Cross replied. Every human military vessel is designed by survivors, crewed by descendants of survivors, and built to operate in conditions that would kill most other species. The debate that followed stretched through the night. Economists argued about the cost of mounting an interstellar rescue mission. Diplomats worried about the implications of humanity's first contact being in the context of an alien war. Scientists salivated over the potential technological benefits of alliance with an advanced species. Admiral Webb finally called for silence. The decision is mine to make, and I've made it. Commander Cross, prepare the Third Fleet for immediate deployment. We're going to answer the Ashanti distress call. The room erupted in voices, some supportive, others expressing concern about the risks. Webb raised his hand for quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 days ago, humanity was alone in the universe. Today we've learned that civilizations can be wiped out while we debate the costs of intervention. If we ignore this call for help, what does that say about who we are as a species? Commander Cross stood, his expression resolute. How many ships, Admiral? Everything we can spare without leaving Earth defenseless. 12 vessels, including the Nemesis. I'm giving you full tactical authority. This is your operation, Commander. Dr. Okafor approached Cross as the meeting broke up, carrying a data crystal containing everything they had learned about Ashanti language and culture. Commander, their entire species is built around cooperation and harmony. They literally don't understand concepts like strategic deception or acceptable losses. You'll be working with beings who have never experienced true conflict. Cross accepted the crystal, his expression thoughtful. Then they're about to learn from teachers who've had 4 billion years of practice. As the Third Fleet prepared for humanity's first interstellar war, Victor stood at the observation deck watching the ships form up in Earth's orbit. The Nemesis led the formation. 2 kilometers of human engineering designed to survive in environments that would instantly kill unprotected humans. Around it, 11 other vessels took their positions, each one carrying the hopes of a species that had never backed down from a fight. The quantum drives engaged simultaneously, and space folded around the human fleet as they began their journey toward the Ashanti system. Behind them, Earth waited and wondered. Ahead lay their first test as defenders not just of humanity, but of the principle that civilization was worth fighting for. In the depths of space, the descendants of a death world were coming to war. First, contact war. The human fleet materialized at the edge of the Ashanti system like ghosts emerging from a nightmare. Commander Dante Cross stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, his eyes taking in a scene of devastation that would haunt him for the rest of his days. Where Dr. Okafor's translations had described 7 beautiful worlds orbiting a golden star, he now saw a graveyard of civilizations. "Tactical report," Cross ordered, his voice steady despite the horror unfolding on the main display. Lieutenant Nova Singh, his tactical officer, worked quickly at her station. Her fingers moved with practiced precision across holographic controls as she cataloged the destruction. 6 planets show evidence of recent bombardment, massive debris fields in orbit around the 4th and 5th worlds. I'm detecting approximately 40 Ravager vessels of various configurations, plus what appears to be a command dreadnought near the system's asteroid belt. Cross nodded grimly. The Ravager ships were exactly as the Ashanti had described, angular, constructs of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved through space with predatory grace, their form suggesting both advanced technology and an inherent understanding of violence that spoke to millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Any surviving Ashanti vessels? Scattered groups, hiding in the outer system's gas giant rings, Singh reported. I count maybe 15 ships total. They're using natural electromagnetic interference to mask their signatures, but they won't stay hidden long if the Ravagers actively search for them. Cross studied the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. 12 human ships against 40 Ravager vessels, with the added responsibility of protecting the surviving Ashanti. The odds were exactly the kind humanity had been beating for millennia. "Open a channel on all frequencies," he ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves to both sides." The communication array activated, and Cross felt the familiar weight of command settle on his shoulders. "This is Commander Dante Cross of the Terran Defense Fleet, Vessel Nemesis. We received the Ashanti distress call and have come to render assistance." The response was immediate. On one frequency, a familiar, harmonious voice filled with desperate hope. "Commander Cross, this is Kethavar. We cannot believe you actually came. The Ravagers have been hunting us for 6 days. Our world burns. Our people scatter like leaves before a storm." On another frequency, something entirely different responded. The voice that emerged was like grinding stone, layered with harmonics that suggested multiple consciousnesses speaking in unison. "Unknown vessels. You will withdraw immediately or be consumed. The harvest of this system proceeds according to the Great Pattern. Interference will be met with obliteration." Cross exchanged glances with Singh, noting her slight smile despite the dire circumstances. "Well," she said quietly, "at least we know where everyone stands." "Signal the fleet," Cross ordered. "Battle formation Delta 7. And Lieutenant, patch me through to Chief Engineer Chen. I want to know how quickly we can integrate any Ashanti technology that might give us an edge." Miles Chen's voice crackled through the comm system from the engineering deck. "Commander, I've been analyzing the data Dr. Okafor sent along. The Ashanti power generation technology is incredible. They're using crystalline matrices to channel energy in ways that could boost our weapon output by 50%. But their defensive systems are practically non-existent. Can you adapt their power systems to our ships? Give me 6 hours and I can upgrade the Nemesis. The rest of the fleet will take longer." Cross made a quick decision. "You have 4 hours. Singh, plot an intercept course for the nearest group of Ashanti survivors. We're going to need their cooperation and technical expertise. The Nemesis accelerated toward the gas giant where sensors had detected the largest concentration of surviving Ashanti vessels. As they approached, Cross couldn't help but marvel at the alien ship's design. Where human vessels were built like mobile fortresses, angular, armored, and bristling with weapons, the Ashanti craft resembled living organisms, their hulls curved gracefully, surfaces shifting between transparency and opacity as if the ships were breathing. The meeting took place aboard the Nemesis, in a hastily converted cargo bay that had been adjusted for the Ashanti's environmental needs. Keithavar appeared exactly as the distress transmission had shown. Four-armed, opalescent skin shifting colors with emotion, large eyes that seemed to hold depths of intelligence and sorrow. "Your species, you actually came," Keithavar said, the harmonics in their voice creating an almost musical quality. "In all our records, no civilization has ever answered a distress call across such distances." Cross studied the alien carefully. Despite the ethereal appearance, he could see intelligence and determination in those alien features. "Your message reached us 18 light years away. It would have been unconscionable not to respond. But you must understand," Keithavar continued, their skin shifting to deeper blue tones that Cross was beginning to recognize as distress markers. "The Ravagers are unlike anything you may have encountered. They do not simply conquer, they consume. Biological matter, mineral resources, even the electromagnetic patterns that define consciousness itself. They have harvested 17 species over the past 50 years. Lieutenant Singh leaned forward from her position beside Cross. "What can you tell us about their tactics, their weaknesses?" Keithavar's expression, or what Cross interpreted as expression given the alien features, grew puzzled. "Weaknesses? Commander Cross, the Ravagers have never displayed weaknesses. They attack with overwhelming force, adapt quickly to any resistance, and show no hesitation in sacrificing individual units for tactical advantage. Our scientists theorize they operate as a true collective consciousness." Cross and Singh exchanged glances. "Keithavar," Cross said carefully, "in your species' history, have you ever faced an enemy that refused to surrender? That continued fighting even when victory seemed impossible?" The alien's skin shifted through several color patterns before settling on a silvery hue. "Our species evolved on a world of abundance. Conflict was rare, war unknown until the Ravagers came. We resolved disputes through negotiation and consensus. The concept of endless resistance is foreign to us." Singh smiled, and Cross recognized the expression. It was the same look human soldiers got when they realized they had an advantage the enemy couldn't anticipate. "Keithavar," Cross continued, "humanity evolved very differently. Our homeworld tried to kill us in 1,000 different ways over millions of years. We learned to fight back against impossible odds because the alternative was extinction. The Ravagers are about to encounter something they've never faced, a species that considers desperate resistance a survival skill." Before Keithavar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Singh was moving toward the exit before the first klaxon finished sounding. "Commander, we have multiple Ravager contacts approaching fast. They've found us." Cross helped Keithavar toward the bridge as the ship shifted to battle stations. "You're about to see why humanity survived when our world tried to wipe us out." The Ravager attack force consisted of 12 vessels, each one twice the size of the Nemesis. They approached in perfect formation, their dark hulls seeming to drink in the light from the distant star. Cross watched them close the distance with the inexorable certainty of predators who had never faced effective resistance. "They're not even trying to be tactical," Singh observed from her station. "Straight-line approach, no evasive maneuvers, weapons charging for maximum intimidation effect." Cross nodded. "They've never needed to be tactical. Every species they've encountered either fled or was overwhelmed by superior firepower." He activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Cross. Remember, we're not trying to match their technology. We're trying to do something they won't expect. Execute pattern chaos on my mark." The human fleet scattered in 12 different directions as the Ravagers opened fire. Energy beams that could vaporize asteroids sliced through space where the human ships had been moments before. But the Terran vessels weren't fleeing. They were implementing a battle strategy that had been refined through centuries of human conflict. Pattern chaos was deceptively simple in concept, but nearly impossible to execute without crews trained in the unpredictable thinking that Earth's harsh evolution had fostered. Each ship moved independently, following no preset pattern or formation, making decisions based on split-second assessments that would have been impossible for a collective consciousness to predict. The Nemesis dove below the plane of battle, then suddenly reversed course to attack a Ravager vessel from an angle its designers had never considered vulnerable. At the same time, Captain Luna Rodriguez's Defiance was executing a spiraling approach that brought her ship dangerously close to a Ravager energy beam, only to slip past at the last second and deliver a devastating barrage to the alien vessel's unprotected flank. "Their shields are powerful but focused," Singh reported as she coordinated the chaotic battle from her tactical station. "They're designed to repel direct assault, not the kind of multi-vector attacks we're throwing at them." Cross watched as one of the Ravager ships, damaged by the unexpected assault patterns, attempted to adapt by spreading its shield coverage. The modification worked, but only until 3 human ships simultaneously attacked from angles the reconfigured shields couldn't possibly cover. The first Ravager vessel to die went out in a flash of light that briefly outshone the system's star. Cross felt a moment of fierce satisfaction as he realized they had just accomplished something no other species had managed in 50 years. They had drawn Ravager blood and lived to tell about it. "Commander," Keithvar said from where they had been watching the battle in fascination and horror, "your species fights like forces of nature. Unpredictable, impossible to counter, absolutely relentless." "That's exactly right," Cross replied, watching as the remaining Ravager ships began to withdraw toward their main fleet. "We learned from the best teacher in the universe, a world that was actively trying to kill us." As the immediate threat retreated, Cross turned his attention to the larger strategic picture. The brief engagement had proven that human tactics could be effective against Ravager technology, but 40 enemy ships still patrolled the system, and the massive command dreadnought remained untouched. "Chief Chen," Cross called over the comm, "how are those modifications coming?" "Integration complete on the Nemesis, Commander. With Ashanti power matrices, our weapons are operating at 150% normal capacity. But I've identified something even more interesting. Their energy systems are completely incompatible with Ravager technology. It's like they evolved along completely different physical principles." Cross felt the stirring of an idea. "Explain." "The Ravagers use brute force energy manipulation, overwhelming power applied directly. The Ashanti systems are based on harmonic resonance. They work with natural energy patterns instead of trying to dominate them. The two approaches can't coexist in the same field." Singh looked up from her station, understanding dawning in her expression. "Commander, if we could synchronize Ashanti energy patterns across multiple ships, we could create an interference field that would disrupt Ravager systems," Cross finished. He turned to Keithvar. "How many of your surviving ships have functional power cores?" 14 vessels have operational energy matrices," Keithvar replied. Their skin shifting to brighter silver patterns that Cross was learning indicated hope. Cross activated the fleet communications. "All ships, prepare for a coordinated assault on the Ravager command vessel. We're going to show them what happens when the descendants of a Deathworld decide to get creative." The plan that emerged over the next 2 hours was audacious to the point of seeming suicidal. The combined human Ashanti fleet would approach the massive Ravager dreadnought in 3 waves. The Ashanti ships, protected by human escorts, would establish a harmonic resonance field that would disrupt the dreadnought's shields. The human vessels would then execute a coordinated assault on the exposed command ship, while a strike team led by Cross himself would board the vessel and target its control systems from within. "You realize," Singh said as they prepared for the final assault, "that we're betting the survival of 2 species on a tactic we've never tried against an enemy we barely understand." Cross checked his sidearm and sealed his environmental suit. "Lieutenant, That's been humanity's specialty since the first caveman decided to hunt something bigger than himself. The attack began with the Ashanti ships moving into formation around the Ravager dreadnought, their crystalline hulls beginning to resonate with harmonious energy patterns that had never been weaponized before. The effect was immediately visible. The dreadnought's shields began to fluctuate and distort as the harmonic interference disrupted their fundamental energy matrix. Human ships poured through the gaps in the failing shields, their weapons enhanced by Ashanti power systems, cutting deep into the massive vessel's hull. But the boarding operation was Cross's responsibility alone. The Nemesis docked with the dreadnought like a parasite attaching to a giant. Cross led his team through the breach into an environment that would have been instantly fatal to the Ashanti. High, radiation-toxic atmosphere and gravitational fields that fluctuated wildly. For humans, protected by their environmental suits and their species' inherent resistance to hostile conditions, it was merely another day at the office. Inside the Ravager ship, Cross discovered the truth about their enemy. The Ravagers weren't individuals at all. They were components of a vast biological machine, each one connected to a central consciousness that coordinated their actions across the galaxy. The control center was a fusion of organic tissue and advanced technology, pulsing with dark energy that hurt to look at directly. "Chief," Cross called over his comm system, "I'm at what appears to be their central control node. How do I shut down something that's half alive?" Chen's voice crackled back through the interference. "Commander, remember what I said about incompatible energy systems? Plant one of the Ashanti resonance crystals directly into their control matrix. The harmonic feedback should cascade through their entire network." Cross drew the crystal Kethvar had given him, a beautiful, multifaceted gem that pulsed with gentle light. It seemed almost sacrilegious to use something so beautiful as a weapon, but the screams of dying Ashanti worlds echoed in his memory. The moment the crystal made contact with the Ravager control system, the ship began to shake apart. The harmonic resonance that powered Ashanti technology was anathema to the Ravagers' brutally direct energy systems. Feedback cascaded through their network, and Cross watched as the other Ravager ships throughout the system began to drift powerlessly. "All ships withdraw immediately," Cross ordered as his team fought their way back to the Nemesis. "This thing is coming apart at the quantum level." The human fleet pulled back just as the Ravager dreadnought collapsed in on itself, taking with it the collective consciousness that had terrorized 17 species. The remaining Ravager vessels cut off from their